This is the last part of the lecture, and I'm feeling a little sad. All good things have to come to an end, including my classes. I ask myself, have I done justice to the wasteland? I certainly have not done full justice to the wasteland, but I have done my best within the limitations under which I operate. Eventually, I shall be giving a lecture in which I shall carry out a line by line analysis, a line by line evaluation of T.S. Eliot's masterpiece. Let us examine the stylistic component of the poem. The Wasteland is a stylistic marvel. It is a poem like no other. It is a perfectly appropriate title. We have already taken a somewhat close look at the title. The title of the poem goes back to Greek mythology, goes back to the Old Testament, to the Bible. The title alludes to the personal wasteland that the poet's life had become around the time he was writing the poem. Above all, the title refers to the state of Western civilization in the years following the Great War. The epigraph to the wasteland is taken from the Satyricon of Gaius Petronius. The passage is about the Sibyl of Cumae, the famous prophetess. She was a beautiful woman in her youth and was loved by Apollo. Apollo asked her to request for a boon. She picked up a handful of sand and asked Apollo for as many birthdays as were grains of sand in her hand. Thus, she obtained longevity, but did not obtain youth. She grew into an extremely withered woman after having lived for centuries, and was finally kept in a cage. When the boys asked her, "What do you want?" she replied, "I want to die." The Sibyl is a perfect symbol for Western civilization as Eliot saw it. Western civilization has achieved much, just as the Sibyl came to be loved by Apollo and was granted a boon by Apollo. Western civilization has attained much in science, technology, and industrialization, but ultimately it has made itself devoid of meaning. Western civilization now exists in a meaningless state. The poem is dedicated to Ezra Pound. Ezra Pound, the critic, editor, and poet, was T.S. Eliot's personal friend. In the dedication, Eliot writes, "For Ezra Pound, Il miglior fabbro." Il miglior fabbro is what Dante Alighieri said of the Provençal troubadour Arnaud Daniel. Il miglior fabbro means the better craftsman. The great Italian poet Dante accepted that the troubadour Arnaud Daniel was a better craftsman than himself. What does the tribute mean? First of all, Eliot was expressing his profound gratitude to Pound for the tremendous work that he had put in to make the wasteland what it is today. The first draft of the wasteland was closer to 1,000 lines. Ezra Pound pruned it, compressed it, condensed it, and now it comprises 433 powerful lines. So, the dedication was Eliot's way of expressing his deep thanks to his editor. Secondly, the dedication is an expression of Eliot's admiration of Pound's skill as an editor. Nobody except Pound could have facilitated the creation of the wasteland. Perhaps Eliot admired not merely Pound's skill as an editor, but also Pound's ruthlessness as an editor. It was the combination, the devastating combination of skill and ruthlessness that Pound used in order to make the wasteland the masterpiece it is now. Finally, it could be that Eliot was trying to establish a parallel between Arnaud Daniel and Ezra Pound. By establishing such a parallel, Eliot was also establishing a parallel between Dante Alighieri and himself. If Arnaud Daniel, the better craftsman, is Pound, then Dante Alighieri is Eliot. In his heart of hearts, T.S.Eliot saw himself as a latter-day Dante Alighieri. The wasteland is divided into 5 parts. The number 5 is very significant. We have the 5 classical elements, the 5 directions in Western astrology. The number 5 has mystic significance in Chinese culture. We have the 5 acts of the Shakespearean drama. The wasteland is in vers libre. In fact, the wasteland inaugurated the widespread use of vers libre, not merely in English, but in almost all the languages of the world. Vers libre or free verse is poetry which refuses to use meter, rhyme, and stanza. I have said that vers libre shuns meter, but the fact is that the ghost of a meter has to remain in free verse in order to make it effective. I have said that vers libre avoids rhyme, but the liberation from rhyme can prove to be liberation of rhyme. Verse makes use of rhyme whenever the context demands it. For example, this is how the opening of The Wasteland goes. I quote, April is the cruelest month, breeding lilacs out of the dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring, unquote. Thus, the liberation from rhyme can be the liberation of rhyme. Rhyme is used in verse libra to generate special effects. Finally, the traditional stanza is avoided by verse libra, but some kind of division, some kind of stanzaic division is necessary, especially if the poem is long. Perhaps the greatest technical achievement of The Wasteland is its evolution into a palimpsest. A palimpsest is a manuscript, usually a leather manuscript, in which every layer of writing is inscribed, is recorded after erasing the previous layer. The wasteland becomes a palimpsest by the comprehensive use of quotations, references, and allusions. That is what makes the wasteland so rich, so complex, and so difficult. In fact, the entire gamut of Western civilization, from ancient Greece, from ancient Rome, from the Old Testament to post First World War Britain, is embedded in the wasteland. If you want to know what is Western civilization, read The Wasteland.